G'day everyone and welcome to the Brett Lee podcast. I'm your host Brett Lee here with my partner in crime, Brad McNamara of Buzzard. Firstly, hello mate, it's been a wonderful week. We're going to preview the fifth test starting in about 2 hours time. And we're also going to dip into some questions from the WhatsApp group and also from the email. But firstly mate, how's your week been?
Yeah, fantastic. Being great to be with you, and hello to everyone out there. I'm going well. I can actually see you today. I've got a new set of glasses.
Nice spectacles.
Thanks, mate. I've lost about 5 pairs. I've had to take out a new mortgage to afford them.
Where'd you get them from?
OPSM or someone like that, mate. Their eyes light up every time they see me.
Was it a token sponsor? Was it one of the cricket sponsors?
No, unfortunately. But they've got the multifocal lens. It's like losing your car when you lose a set of these glasses. The lenses are that expensive. It's an outrage. Been fantastic, mate. How good was the end of the fourth test at the SCG? That's why people love Test cricket, eh?
Well, people sometimes say that Test cricket's boring. It's not boring. It goes right down to the last ball of the last day of the fourth test. And imagine someone coming from America and you say, hang on, this game goes 6 hours a day for 5 days and you get down the last ball and no one wins.
They think you're certifiable and put you away. Everything's fast and furious in the world of sport these days. But I often ask people, Test cricket, when you compare it to short-form cricket, which we all love, you and I love the T20 cricket and the one-dayers, but if I ask you, name your 5 greatest test matches or test match innings or whatever, you could rattle them off, no problem. If I asked you, name your 5 top T20 or BBL times, you'd probably take a little while to think about them because it just has that history and awe about it, especially Ashes cricket. It was an amazing finish. We get to the fifth test and at least it gives England a little bit of something to hang their hat on. They're not going to get whitewashed, but it was a great result for Test cricket.
Yeah, and I think it was a good result for England too. They were, the chance of them holding out on the last day was pretty slim. I mean, the odds were very high for Australia to win. There was a bit of weather around, and firstly, I was really happy for Zach Crawley. I thought that his 70-odd was brilliant. That really gave some confidence to him. Bairstow in the first innings with a big 100. It actually gives them an opportunity in about 2 or 3 hours' time when they start the fifth test out at Hobart with the pink ball that they are a chance, England. They're a chance to come back and maybe that injection of confidence, even though that there was a draw, that's really going to put them in good stead for this afternoon.
Yeah, geez, he looks a player, Zach Crawley. You wonder, I know he has played the test before that, why he didn't begin the series. Yeah. It's hard to fathom when you see a guy bat like that against our attack, as good as it is, how he hasn't been identified and played right from the beginning. It was good to see England show some fight, especially when you consider how many injuries they had and they were under the pump. Let me ask you though, Binger, did Australia get the declaration right? Did we give ourselves enough time to win that match, knowing there was a little bit of rain around? I always think at times we're a little too conservative. When I say we're, the Australian team over the years has been a little too conservative with their declarations. I know you don't want to give a test match away, but to score 380 runs on a wearing fifth day SCG pitch, I don't know. I for one, it's easy to say, and I don't want to be an armchair quarterback, we should have given ourselves at least another 20 or 30 overs at them.
Yeah, well, I said an extra session would have been lovely. I know that weather played a part. You can't forecast, I guess, without, using that word as to what's going to happen with the weather, but everyone gets a weather report. Everyone knows that there has been rain around in Sydney the last week or two. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I would have loved an extra 2 hours because I also think that if they had, say, 50 to 70 less runs to chase, they may have played a different style of the game to England. They may have tried to attack and get those runs, which will then create opportunity and chances. So, yeah, look, I think we did definitely bat on too long. I thought that after Usman Khawaja got his 100, we didn't need to send out Alex Carey. We didn't need to go through all that rigmarole of who's coming in next. Get back in, get the ball to the boys and get the job done.
Yeah, and I think sometimes batting too long, you actually give the opposition a bit of hope. When you sit in the dressing room as you're about to go out for your last innings knowing you only have to last 100 overs, say, as opposed to 150, which you're no chance of doing on a wearing wicket, it changes the mindset. But once you get, the less time you have to bat mentally, I mean, the easier it is to break it down, and you really only need one or two good partnerships.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you can get them in earlier, then you put more pressure on them. The longer, as you said, they're sitting in the change room waiting, the happier they are. Speaking of happy, someone that would be very, very happy, Usman Khawaja. I mean, what a wonderful comeback story that was. 200s back to back. Got an opportunity about at number 5 through Travis Head being out with COVID. Isn't that the best story ever? Considering him and David Warner were teammates growing up.
Yeah. How about this? They played together as 7-year-olds. Can you believe that? And now to be opening the batting for Australia. It isn't the first time they've opened the batting for Australia. We'll get on to Uzi in a second, but just in terms of Warner and Khawaja, they opened the batting against Pakistan in the second dig in 2017. I think Matt Renshaw was injured. Added 71 in a hurry, and both got runs in that innings. So they've also spent a fair bit of time in ODIs, 401 runs, averaging 66 as a partnership. So they've got not only a little bit of history together, but good history together. But Usman, just unbelievable. The fact he hadn't played any cricket for quite a while leading up to that test match, and then going out and scoring 200s. Both times Australia was in a little bit of, strife. It could have been gone either way. So they weren't easy runs. The wicket was difficult to bat on against a very good English attack. And just to peel off 200s in that situation at his home test was just fairy tale stuff. And I'm so glad the Aussie selectors retained him for this test. I think that would have been a massive error hadn't they done so.
You couldn't drop him after. Pat Cummins came out and said, look, I'm not a selector. I do have, I guess, a bit of a say as to what happens in the team that I would like. But in his words, he said he's pretty much undroppable.
Well, he was undroppable. And, I know Travis Head scored 100 in the first test, but it's 100 in quite a few innings. And his place was in question. Still don't think Travis Head is the automatic selection. Everyone says so. And look, I know he was unlucky to miss out, Travis, with COVID. But that's sport. Someone comes in, takes your position and performs like that. Sometimes that's just the way it rolls. Marcus Harris, in the end, was the one that went. Still big question marks over
that's fair?
Over Harris. Well, someone had to go.
Yep.
So what you got to say is there's no way Khawaja could go. That would have been unfair. So it was either going to be Travis Head, it was going that was going to sit out and leave Usman where he is and leave Harris opening, or Usman goes up to open and Harris goes out. The other option was to leave Harris or to drop Harris, put Marnus Labuschagne as the opener and have Head and Khawaja in the middle order, or drop Cam Green, which I don't think was an option because I think we all agree he needs to stay in the side. He's a player for the future, and Australia needs to back him.
I think the fact that Marcus Harris has had a lean series, it helped the fact that it picked itself. I also think, and I'm a bit with you, Buzz. Travis Head, batted beautifully up at the Gabba, but a bit like what we saw with Richo. Richardson got Pfeiffer, and then obviously with that little strain or that injury that he had, or the carrying that niggle, Boland comes in, and then Boland retains his spot here now. If Richardson's fully fit, would he play? Would Boland play? I'd go Boland. So it's almost like Boland's leapfrogged Richardson, and Khawaja potentially could have leapfrogged Travis Head.
Yeah, well, possession's 9/10 of the law, isn't it? And when you're in the side and you're doing well, makes it very difficult for the selectors to drop you. And they have had some selection headaches, but they're good headaches. And I can't remember a time recently where we've had so many players in such good form that could just, the depth, when you consider we're not playing Sheffield Shield cricket or red ball cricket at the moment, the depth and the form of these guys coming in and out is quite good and a real bonus for Australian cricket. With Marcus Harris, I don't think he's played that bad this series. There was a very good 79, I think he got it at the MCG on a difficult wicket, which helped Australia win that test match. He's just one of these guys at the moment. He's getting to 20 and 30 quite often and just finding a way to get out when he gets to 20, 30. And I think he might be one of those guys who once he gets one or two big ones will steadily improve. So, not sure what they do with Marcus Harris. I think they probably will stick with him for a while longer.
I hope so. Yeah,
there's a tour coming up to Pakistan, which he'll be on. You would have to think, and then he probably gets another series or two to get that big 100 and to really. I mean, as you know, let me ask you. I mean, half a battle in cricket is proving to yourself that you belong at a certain level and belong in a side. And I think once he does that, I think you'll be okay.
And it's also it's playing with that freedom, and I reckon that's the sweet part of playing international sport, is that you are challenged against yourself. You have to wake up in the morning and there's all those doubts. There's all that little voice on your shoulder or in your mind that's going, "Are you good enough? Can you do that?" So that's where I was so pleased for Usman Khawaja. He went out and batted, not batting for his life or batting for his career. He just went out there and played with freedom. And I just reckon he just watched the ball. And you could see that freedom and that relaxed state, that Usman Khawaja. And I think we said last podcast that he's been unfairly tagged or spoken about sometimes about being lazy because he's so relaxed and he sort of the way he moves around when he bats and he looks as though that he's half asleep. That's the best thing about Usman Khawaja. Nothing phases him, and he's proven that again over the last 7 days.
Yeah, and that's why we love. I love watching Usman bat because he reminds me of a David Gower, a little bit of a left-handed Mark Waugh in some regards. The way and Mark Waugh was tagged with that lazy, but it was just the laconic and easy way they played that can sometimes be misconstrued as lazy. But what I find really interesting about all that is it goes back to the conversation we had with Shane Watson a couple of podcasts ago about being able to get out of your own way to perform at your best. And Usman's at a stage of his life now where he's able to get out of his own way and just go out and, as you say, just watch the ball, enjoy it, play with freedom, and not worry about the consequences too much. He's been through the mill. There's nothing more that you can possibly throw at him that's going to surprise him. And he really has nothing to lose. And when you can get yourself into that state of mind and that situation, that's usually when you perform at your best.
Right. You love your music.
I do.
I love my music. One guy that I love listening to, Paul Kelly. Now, have you ever had a song written about you as a cricketer? And if you did, what would it be?
Jeez, that's a very tough question. It'd only have 3 chords because I'm very simple. It wouldn't be too intricate. We're not running with your Stairway to Heaven or Hotel California number. I reckon it'd probably be a 3-chord hard rock AC/DC type number.
Or an Angels or something.
Yeah, something like that I think would suit me. Unbelievable. I don't know of many. Who has had a song written about? I know Paul Kelly's done songs about cricket. He's a massive cricket fan.
Bradman's had a song written about him.
Yeah, of Don Bradman. I won't try and sing it. I'll save the viewers.
I can't think of any other players. I know the Barmy Army, they write songs all the time about their cricketers, but for someone as good, as iconic Australian, singer-songwriter as Paul Kelly, he penned this wonderful tribute to Usman Khawaja. Let's have a bit of a listen.
Usman Khawaja, the voice still in your face. Too many you bring joy and make the world a better place. Triumph and disaster, you treat them equally. Uzi, you'll go down in history.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that would be, if Paul Kelly wrote a song about me, I'd be pumped.
Well, that lasts forever. So you can have all your jerseys framed on the wall and all your little bits of memorabilia, but at any stage you could just whack that on the iTunes and have a listen to it. And what a great tune, and what an amazing tip of the hat to Uzi and the performance at the SCG. Uzi plays a guitar a bit, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
He loves
he likes
guitar.
his music, and I saw that I think it's on his Instagram or Twitter. He went back and actually there was a bit of conversation between him and Paul Kelly, and he was just saying, "Thank you so much. It's an honour to have a song written about me from someone like you."
Yeah, what we've got to do is set the challenge to Uzi. He's probably not listening because he's about to get ready for a test match. I want to hear Uzi play that Paul Kelly's tune.
We should set that.
We should set that.
You reckon you'll do it?
Yeah, we'll play along with him.
6 and Out featuring Mr. Khawaja.
That's it. We could do a rap version or something like that.
Mate, I couldn't wrap a Christmas present. What happens this afternoon? Ashes, there's a lot of potential changes. The Poms, I know we've spoken about it briefly, but pink ball test, can they find a way to fight back? And if they do, who in your opinion will be the player that will step up for England this afternoon tonight?
Well, firstly, we've got to look at the conditions. So pink ball, day, night, Hobart. So straight away you're going to think, I mean, safe to say the 4 tests have been bowlers' tests with the conditions. It's good to see, and it's good to see that. Nothing worse than those flat wickets that, where every side gets 500 every innings. I think this wicket will be the same. It looks, having a look at it, there's more than a fair tinge of green in it. I don't know how moist it is. They've had a lot of rain in Hobart last week.
It was actually underwater, wasn't it, last week?
It was underwater last week. So you'd have to think there's going to be a fair bit in this wicket. And in nighttime conditions in Hobart, which will be cool, I think we're looking at another bowlers test match. So be interesting to see what attack England roll with. Apparently there's fitness concerns hanging over James Anderson, who you would think would be the first bloke picked in a pink ball test, given the way he swings the ball around and moves it around. Hopefully Stuart Broad keeps his place. I mean, he's been England. I mean, I think he's been England's best bowler out here in the little bit I saw. Even in Adelaide, when he didn't get so many wickets, I thought he was the most dangerous bowler. You probably think Ollie Robinson may come back into the equation. He's a guy who really needs it to be swinging and doing something to be effective. In Australian conditions, bowling in mid-120s, you need that. Otherwise, he's just cannon fodder. Batting's going to be interesting for them. Stokes hopefully comes back from that side injury. Bairstow's thumb's okay, so coming off a great 100, well, a great test match actually. Bairstow 100 and runs in the second innings as well.
Because Stokes can play purely as a batsman.
Yeah, and he should be. I mean, he's actually, when you look at, he's actually spent a fair bit of time for a guy who hadn't played any cricket, he's actually done quite well with the bat. Against our attack, he's always come in when England's in trouble. 250s at the SCG, be disappointed he didn't go on with one of those, and you'd have to think sooner or later he is going to do that. I think Burns will come back to open the batting. Hamid has probably used all his vouchers up, I'd say. He just doesn't look like he's going to score a run against this attack with that technique he has.
He's got to go, unfortunately.
I'll tell you the big thing, though. I love Josh Butler as a player, but I think England will benefit greatly by him. Unfortunately, he's got a hand injury, so he's gone back to England. But by having
Billings, maybe?
Billings keep for them, who is going to make his test debut, we're told. I think that'll make a big difference. Just the energy when Ollie Pope took the gloves over. You could just tell the difference and feel the difference in that side. And I don't know what was up with Josh. It sort of looked to me like he didn't want to be here throughout the test series. And there's nothing worse in any cricket team when your keeper's dragging his heels. As we say, the keeper's the drummer in the band. They set the tone.
There's
and
absolutely no
energy
chat from behind there. And I've done a lot of Big Bash over the last couple of weeks, and Sam Billings, he's so chirpy and he's funny. He revs up his teammates, and that's what England need right here, right now. Yeah,
they need an injection of enthusiasm and guys that might take it to Australia a little bit. Rory Burns, I mean, his technique is questionable, yes, but at least he looked to score runs. And I was surprised they dropped him and kept Hamid through this series. I would have gone the other way. It's almost like the England selectors this series have gone, what should we do, and then done the opposite. It's opposite day. Get George Costanza in.
G'day everyone, and welcome back to the Brett Lee Podcast, segment 2. As I mentioned before the break, we're going to go through and have a listen to some of the questions that's been sent to our WhatsApp group. And we're pretty excited about this because there's been a lot. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time. And if you do want to get involved in the future episodes, make sure you go to the WhatsApp group, and you can see that in our episode notes. Or you go to the email, and the email is the brettleepodcast@news.com.au. Our first one, let's have a listen. This one's for Jack.
Hey Binger, hey Buzzard, it's Jack here from Bronte. Guys, absolutely loving your podcast. My question for you both today is, do you think Usman Khawaja should have retained his position in the Australian team?
Canoth.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Jack. Good night. No, definitely should have retained his spot. I think it would have been an absolute travesty had he not been selected, given the feats at the SCG test. And as I said before, Binger, never give a mug an even break, and it was unfortunate for Travis Head that he missed out, and Travis comes back in for this test anyway. But possession's 9/10 of the law, and once you're in the side and you're performing, you're very hard to remove.
It's probably harder to get out of the side, is what we've found with the Australian cricket team, than what it is to get in it. But yeah. I would say, Jack, my prediction, yes, of course he retains his spot. I want to go one better. I'm going to say he's going to score 300s back-to-back, so 100 this afternoon when he gets a chance to bat tomorrow.
Well, you know that was his third Ashes 100
because the last one was in Sydney as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. And just besides that, I've always been of the firm opinion, if you pick your top 6 batsmen in Australia, I always thought Usman was in our top 6 anyway, so it's taken an arse-up way to get there, but he's probably where he belongs. I don't know if he should be opening the batting. I don't know necessarily that's a great thing for him in his career at the moment, but look, let's hope he, as you say, let's hope he picks off another ton.
Hopefully. Well, there you go, Jack. Hopefully that answers your question. We've got one here from Mahir. We've already seen how lethal Stark can be with a pink ball. It'd be great to hear my thoughts, Binger's thoughts, he writes in his WhatsApp, on his bowling plans if he had the opportunity to bowl with a brand new pink ball. Thanks, Mahir. Good question. Mitchell Stark's got to take the brand new pink ball. He's got over 50 test wickets now with a pink ball. The great thing with the pink ball is it seems, I don't know the reason why, I don't know the science behind it, but the pink ball seems to swing more than the white ball and certainly more than the red ball. So I would have loved to bowl the pink ball. Mitchell Stark is one of the great exponents of bowling swing at pace. So on 150 Ks, the ball shaping back in, and the Poms, watch that front pad because it could get blown off this afternoon.
Mitchell Stark is a handful with any colour ball.
Yeah.
But with the pink ball, as you said, Binger, he's taken the most wickets of anyone in day-night tests of any bowler. That's anyone, isn't it? Any bowler?
Yep.
Last time I checked. 52 wickets at 18.2 from 9 day-night tests. And you know Australia's never lost. 9 out of 9 we are, day-night tests.
Oh, don't say that now.
9 out of 9. They've all been played in Australia.
Is that the jinx? The big jinx?
Well, it could be. 9 out of 9. Even if it was 9 out of 10, you'd still take that, wouldn't you? But
you would.
You know, Mitchell Stark is just the king of the pink ball. He's in great form. He's bowling well. He started to look a little bit tired on day 5, but I think all the bowlers did a little bit. Hasn't been a lot of rest between these test matches, but I think in cool conditions in Hobart on a green top with a pink ball, he's going to be a hell of a handful.
Certainly will be. So thank you, Mahir. Hopefully that answers your question. Got one here from Paul. Let's have a listen.
Hey, Binger and Buzz. How you going? This is Paul here. Just wondering if you give us a heads up on maybe some of the funniest smack talk or sledge that you ever heard out on the field or said yourself during a match, and how that went down. Cheers.
Thanks, Paul. Smack talk. I love it. Buzz, any smack talk from you? You'd have a bit of smack talk, I reckon.
Yeah, a bit sledging. Smack talk. I don't know. What is smack talk? I mean, sledging's overrated, isn't it? Look, I was playing grade cricket one day. Playing for St George and playing against Gordon. There was a fellow called Michael Cant, who's now an actuary for the Commonwealth Bank.
Right.
He's probably smarter than all of us in this whole building put together. Lovely bloke, but one of those stodgy left-hander, you couldn't get him out. He just blocked the shit out of it. But
Michael Cant.
And he used to really good cricketer, scored a lot of runs in grade cricket. They won a first-grade competition. Anyway, it was wet. We're playing up at Bird Oldfield Oval in Killara in the leafy North Shore of Sydney. And I've run up to bowl, and the ball's wet. We're not as precious as they are in Test cricket these days. You used to play in any old sort of slopping in Sydney club cricket. I don't know if it's still the same now. And I've run up the bowl, and just in my delivery stride, and you would have done this, the ball's come out of my hand, and it's rolled out towards cover. Now, just for those that don't know, once the ball leaves your hand in the process of bowling it, it's fair game for the batsman just to
Open slather,
just run over and whack it where they like, and the field's not allowed to move. So Michael Cant strolls over to the ball at cover, has a look around and just smashes it along the wet grass into the boundary, which was full of water. I was none too pleased.
You wouldn't have been happy. You were blowing up.
As a batsman, you sort of, it's not the done thing, but you're in your rights to do it. So anyway, I got the ball back, rubbed it down, looked up at him and said, "Mate, is it right they misspell your name in the paper every week?"
How'd that go down?
He didn't flinch.
Really? Didn't like it?
No, didn't like it. No.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah. Something a bit close to the win, that one, but there's a bit of smack talk there.
That was good. I like the smack talk. Well, sledging's a very important part of the game.
I'll tell you another. Well, you must have been. Look, in all the cricket you played, surely, you know. I don't know whether you dealt it out or caught one yourself, but...
There's been heaps. There was one at grade cricket, actually, and we're trying to work out our ugliest 11. So it was rained on, rained off, and we're trying to work out what would be our ugly 11 if we had to pick a side.
It's amazing how that happens in the dressing rooms when you get rained out and people start coming up with their ugly 11.
Yeah. I don't know who comes up with these things.
Their tight-ass 11, what else?
Stingy 11, worst dressed. You know, Daktari 11. Yeah. But we've picked what we thought was our ugly 11. We've gone out, and my mate at first slip.
Where was I batting?
Batsman's come out, and he's faced up, and my mate's gone, "Mate, we've spent 3 hours picking our ugly 11. Looking at you, Roddy, right now, mate, you are skipper of our ugly 11. He says, "All right. Well, I can see Mrs. on the hill, mate. She's batting 3.
Oh, jeez.
So quick. And it's ruthless. What's that one about Junior? Remember Junior sledged? Was it a Kiwi sledged? Or someone?
Vaughan told us about that one. It was, I think it was an English, I can't remember his name now, an English bowler. Junior had a bit of a go out and the big fella came down and said, "Well, mate, at least I'm the best batsman in my family."
Good point. Well, arguably.
Yeah. I think Merv Hughes was the king of sledges, though. You probably, unfortunately, with most of Merv's, they're unrepeatable.
Yeah, you probably couldn't get away with these days.
Laden with explodies, but he loved a sledge, Merv. Barely a ball went by where he was in India. But look, the great thing about all the sledging, I mean, I don't know, it doesn't happen as often as people think it does. And these days, what people call sledging to me is really banter. I mean, usually it was witty stuff that, the great thing when we played, you go have a beer in the shed afterwards or a drink in the shed afterwards with the opposition and have a laugh about it. And it never, so anything you said out there was never allowed to fester.
Yeah.
And these days they don't do that. So if you have a crack at someone out in the field, and you keep doing it and it happens, you can see how things get out of hand.
How they get pissed off, yeah. And, the next morning they're not sitting together at breakfast like we used to, and you see them, you'd be able to get your wheat bix or your toast and you go, "Morning," and then you try and bounce them 3 hours later.
You'd rip into each other, you'd have a beer, have a laugh about it, get up next morning and rip into each other again.
Push on.
Nothing wrong with that. Play on, as you say.
All right. So thank you for that, Paul. That got some good discussion. Here's one here from Aditya. "Mark Wood's bowled with some real good pace, but he's been unable to pick up as many wickets given how potent his spells have looked. What would you advise for Wood if you're the English bowling coach?" Buzzard, what should Wood do differently?
I don't think he needs to do too much. I just think he's been unlucky. I mean, I don't know what the exact numbers are. He's gone past the bat more than any other English bowler in this series.
At pace, mind you.
At pace. I just think he's been unlucky. I think he's bowled really well. Sometimes that happens. You would have had times in your career where no matter what you do, you just can't take a wicket. The ball goes past the outside. You did other times in your career where you bowled the biggest load of shit ever, and people just start nicking them and blokes start taking specky catches and you get rough decisions go your way. I mean, what would your advice be to Mark Wood?
Well, firstly, I'd like to see Mark Wood play consistent test matches back to back. It's very hard when they chop and change. So, I think that if you go from one test, have some time off, go back to the next test, and they're probably trying to look after his injuries and manage his workload. But I always found that you need rhythm and consistency, and I reckon that breeds luck. So I think the more time you spend out in the field playing, the better that you become. So running, keep bowling fast. I think he's ruffled the feathers of a few Australian batsmen. I mean, he nicked off David Warner the other day with raw pace, and no one likes facing raw pace. I think potentially could change his angles, maybe come around the wicket a bit more.
He seems to have Marnus's number.
He does, yep. He got Marnus out a couple of times. So, yeah, I'm a massive fan of Mark Wood. I would have Mark Wood in every single English side.
All right, here's a question for you as well in relation to Mark Wood. I think, and do do you agree? I think his spells are too short. I know you want guys to run in and rip in and bowl as quick as they can, but it seems to me like it's 3 or 4 over spells. As a batsman, you know you just got to get past. I mean, I think he'd get more wickets if he bowled longer spells. I know it's an obvious. You can't get wickets if you're not bowling. So would you like? I mean, is this a fitness thing?
It's almost a conundrum where, you know, you've got a guy steaming in, like he's like redlining every single ball at 150 Ks, 145 to 150 Ks. So it's that managing his workload without blowing him out and bowling 6 or 7 overs. But we aren't saying that. We're not saying also bowl 3 overs. We want a 4 or 5 over spell where you can build some pressure, because as a batsman, you can sit on someone for 3 overs because you know that they're off.
Well, you might only face half. 3 overs, 18 balls. You might only face, odds are you face 9 of them, 3 or 4 of which you're going to let go. So does that then put a lot of pressure on Mark Wood to try and get a wicket every ball, because he knows, I've only got 3 overs here?
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, if you bowl a 5 over spell and you got someone down the other end like a Broad or an Ollie Robertson that's bowling tight, so you've essentially got 10 overs of good bowling pressure, and you've got to bowl in partnerships, right? Like batsmen, I keep saying, we always talk about batsmen in partnerships. Bowlers have to bowl in partnerships. You know, you get in the over, you finish the over well. If you can put together 10 overs of some really good dot balls, that's when the batsmen get frustrated. You know, you can't just block for 10 overs in Test cricket. Even though it's Test cricket, you still have to score. You can get through 6 overs of just getting through that hard period. So I'm a bit with you, Buzz. I think that if they have a bit longer spell and maybe give him a bit more rest between spells, give him a 5 over spell, and rather bring him back in 40 minutes, give him an hour and a half off, and then bring him back again.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's a Joe Root thing, or the medical staff in the England team are saying we only want you to bowl 3 over spells, because I agree with you. Sometimes, you've got to play by instinct, and if a guy's on fire and he looks like he's going to get a wicket every ball, let him go for 6 overs and give him a longer rest.
Yeah.
I mean, surely, his pace might drop off a bit, but even if he drops off 2 or 3 Ks an hour, he's still
got the quickest
mid-140s and still a threat to the batsman. I think longer spells would get him more wickets.
Okay.
It sounds obvious, but I just think his spells are too short. So, who knows? Hopefully this test, his luck turns, and I think he deserves a 5 or 6 wicket haul for the effort he's put in this series.
Yeah, hopefully it's coming for him. And you just touch quickly on Joe Root. Is he the best captain for England?
Look, I think he's the best leader. I worry sometimes with the tactics, and once again, I don't know whether they're coming from the bowler. Like when Jack Leach comes on, and everyone. Australia do it to a certain. Maybe it's a thing in the modern game now. The spinner comes on the field spreads. I don't get that. I think you're better off for a wrist spinner. Okay, protect your boundaries a little bit till you get into your spell. Morney talks about that a lot. But for a finger spinner, and Graham Swan talked about this. You want batsmen taking risks. You want them hitting it over the fielder's head in the hope that they make a mistake. When you can just give away 5 or 6 easy singles and over, it just takes all the pressure off. And I see Joe Root doing that a lot. I see a lot of very negative tactics in there. Once again, I don't know if that's the bowler or Joe Root. I think as a leader, if I had to have a question mark, I'd say, is he too nice? Yeah, does he have? I'm sure he's got plenty of mongrel. You're not a successful professional sportsman, and he's up there amongst England's greatest ever run scorers. If you don't have a bit of mongrel in you, I just wonder.
Doesn't make you a great captain, though.
No, it doesn't.
Just because you're a good batsman,
you're not there to make friends, are you?
And I'm not saying here that he's not a good captain. I just think there are other options, and I would like someone more like a Ben Stokes. Stokesy that's got that fire in the belly, that isn't afraid to attack. And when the chips are down, and go, well, rather than have just a spread field, maybe have 5 or 10 overs of some aggressive field placements. Maybe put a couple of short legs and get Mark Wood to bowl some short stuff. Just try something different. Have some energy.
Seems like to me he's always a step behind the game. The great captains and the guys you played with, your Mark Taylors and your Steve Wars and Ricky Pontings and all that, they're always a step ahead of the game. Most of the time, the good captains are. He always seems a step or 2 behind it. Look, usually an Ashes flogging, whether it's Australia or England, and we have copped them, mean great reviews and back to the drawing board and I think after this series England will go back to the drawing board. So I guess the question they've got to ask is, okay, in a perfect world moving forward, who's the best person to lead this side to play the sort of cricket we want to play?
Yep.
And they've got to identify who those players are. And maybe Joe Root is the best guy to lead them through that next stage. Maybe Ben Stokes is. It just depends on what direction they want to go in. I just think if Joe, just think he's a bit negative and he's been a step behind all the way. I get there's been a lot of pressure and, I'm not making excuses for him. It hasn't been easy with COVID and all that sort of stuff. But it'll be very interesting to see which way they go.
Yeah, look, I think the England cricket team at the moment, a bit like a house, it needs a bit of a refurbish, needs a bit of a clean out. They've got some really good players in there, got some really good talent, and I just think that with some backing of the selectors, with some real good form underneath their belt and some quality leadership, I think that they can definitely come back.
Yeah, and history's full of guys who stepped down as captain and just kept playing as right, batters or bowlers or whatever.
Sachin Tendulkar, they've all done it.
Yeah, so I don't think it's that big a deal. Who knows? Does Joe want to do it? I mean, I don't even know if he wants to, after this series, he might say, oh, bugger that, I've done my time. I mean, he's captained England the most times out of anyone. Maybe he just wants to, play out the rest of his career without the pressure of captaincy and hand it on to someone else.
Sounds like a good plan, I reckon. All right, here's one from Kate. Let's have a listen to what Kate's saying.
England is said to be making as many as 5 changes before Hobart. Do you reckon that will make a difference?
Thanks for that, Kate. Look, 5 changes potentially. That's what we're hearing too. It has to make a difference. I think they've got to go in now, and it's all an out attack. They've got to go in with that right mindset, with that belief, and I think that confidence from a couple of days ago with that draw at the SCG holding on, as we mentioned briefly in segment 1, it's definitely going to help them, Buzz.
Yeah, I think one change that will make a difference is bringing Rory Burns back into the side. Haseem just looks like he's going to get out every ball. He just hasn't been able to put any pressure. And even if he stays in, he's not taking the game to Australia. And I think the only way to beat the Australian team at the moment is to take the game to them. I think Rory Burns will do that. So I think that'll be a change that will make a big difference. And one I mentioned before, the change of keeper, I think will make a big difference for England's energy in the field. Sam Billings will make his debut. He'll be full of beans. I think they will make a difference, actually. Some negative changes, if they lose James Anderson in the pink ball, it doesn't come up through injury, I think will hurt England a little bit because he's bowled. He's just sort of getting into his work now after being rested early on in the tour and hadn't played much cricket before that. So I think that might have a negative impact. I mean, if you ask the Aussies who they'd rather face, James Anderson or Ollie Robinson, I think it'd be a fairly simple answer.
Yeah, and it's definitely not Ollie Robertson, with all due respect. But look, I thought he's bowled well. Ollie Robertson, he just needs to increase his pace. I think he hits a pretty good length, hits a pretty good line. If he was 10, 15K quicker, with his height and his size, he could be anything. Well,
what he will enjoy is bowling to Australia's left-handers. He does like to nip the ball away from the lefties, and we've Warner and we're pretty heavily stacked with left-handers in our top order. So that'll be something in his favour. It'll definitely be something in Stuart Broad's favour. So I think the changes on a whole will have a positive influence on England's side. Just a bit of luck involved in this pink ball test and when you bat and bowl, and but I think with a bit of youth and enthusiasm, that'll definitely be a good thing for them.
I want to see some more mongrel from England this afternoon.
Yeah, too nice.
Have a crack.
Get proactive. Take the game. I'd like to see them take the game to Australia.
Have a scrap.
I mean, you're going to get flogged. The way they're going, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing, expecting a different result. Yeah. At the moment, they're getting smashed anyway. I know they held out for the test in Sydney, but really, that was a moral victory more than anything. They got flogged in that test and then managed to hold on for a draw. I think if they're going to win and actually beat Australia, they've got to take it to them.
I was told a joke the other day.
Fire away.
What's the definition of optimism?
What?
A test batsman putting on sunscreen before he gets at the bat.
In a day-night test. Yeah. Oh, that would be... Right, we're telling stories. We've got to get to the great mate of ours, Corey Richards.
Spoons. Love him.
Spoons. So... we used to play the day-night shield games, and when they largely came about as a result of when the governing body started to experiment with different colour balls. We went through, we tried the orange ball, We played a couple of Shield games with a yellow ball, which was a bit of a disaster because you couldn't see the damn thing once it got old, and the pink ball. And we're playing a day-night Shield game, and we're in the evening session, so it's pitch black out. So we're playing under lights, and looked over, and Spoons is putting sunscreen on before we go out in the field under lights at night. And we looked across, and then remember people used to put that little black thing under the to stop the reflection off your cheeks and your eyes.
Stayed on over in
I said,
baseball.
Spoons, what are you doing? What? He said, I've heard those lights can really burn you badly if the UV rays off the lights. So I'm just lathering up.
He didn't.
Yeah, he slapped under the lights. He thought he could get burnt off the floodlights, and they reckon fast bowlers are dumb.
Well, that's definitely not the case, Buzz.
I'm not going to tell that to Pat Cummins, but yeah, old Spoonsy.
Hello,
the
Spoons.
sunscreen on,
Yep.
playing.
I'll tell you, well, whilst we're on telling stories, I'll tell you another one. Andrew Simons playing a one-day match. We get the new kit come out, and they reach into the cardboard box, and it's got all the playing pants and playing shirts, and he's there, and he says, has anyone got a marker? Has anyone got a Sharpie? So I get a Sharpie, and he writes Roy on his tag. What's that for? Someone said. Oh, just so my shirt doesn't get mixed up. You're not happy with 39 Simons on the back? At that stage it was. He's like, I didn't realise, actually. Didn't realise.
Hey, we'll have to get Simo on.
Let's get
as
him
a
on.
guest one day. He'd be a great chat.
I want to ask about his tattoo across his back.
What is it?
Well, he had his tattoo with his test number across his back.
Was it the right number?
Well, he's in lathering up, and Gilly, who's a very good mate of ours and a wonderful commentator. So Gilly goes, as they're having a shower, Simo, what number are you? He goes, what do you mean? What test number? Now, off the top of my head, I can't think what his test number was, but he says, such and such. He's right. That's not what it says on your back. So he's got it in Roman numerals. He was way off.
Was it?
He's about 100 off. Yeah.
So he got the wrong Roman numerals, or he got the wrong number?
The wrong Roman numerals.
He got his X's and V's and ones mixed up.
Yeah, got it all mixed up. Well, they happened to Michael Slater too.
Yeah, and Brendan Julian, because they debuted in the same test together. And how did that go? I think there was confusion over whether your number went by
alphabetical order or batting order.
Or batting order.
And I think Slater from memory was like 3-5-6, I think.
I think you're right, actually. 3-5-6.
I think it was 3-5-6 and 3-5-7.
That's good memory from you.
So he had a tattoo on his ankle, and still has a 3-5-6. And then when they looked at, and someone said, "Hang on, you're 3-5-7 or whatever it was, the opposite one,"
because they decided it was alphabetical.
Yeah. So JB obviously comes before S, and Slater then he said, "Well, hang on, that's not right. It was batting order because I bat before Brendan Julian. He bats down the tail and I bat the top." So he had to go to Cricket Australia, and they had to reverse that for that one.
I tell you,
just to make sure that otherwise he had to go and rub it off.
Yeah, good. I love all the stories about people. Simo's got the wrong Roman numerals, but what about when you misspell something on the tattooist misspells it, or you misspell the tattoo? I'll tell you who isn't getting a tattoo: Brendan Julian.
Nah.
He's way too big a wuss to get a tattoo. He couldn't stand the pain, BJ.
No, what about him camping? Have you seen him camping recently on Fox? Got his camping shows and all that. I said, mate, the only star that you sleep under are 5.
Mate, BJ calls camping going to Coogee Beach when he leaves his Vaucluse mansion. That's camping for BJ.
Certainly is. Right, this next one is a good one, and I reckon you like this. This is from Will. Let's have a listen to what Will's asking.
Hey, Binger. Hey, Buzz. I know you fellas worked with Richie Benno as well. Have you got any good stories about him to share?
Richie Benno. Well, hello, Will. Thank you so much for your question. I'll hand over to you, Buzz, because you actually produced as an executive producer for Channel 9 at that stage and looked after Richie Benno and set the whole roster and everything for about 10 or 15 years. I had the pleasure to work with him, but firstly, what was it like to, essentially look after Richie Benno? What a legend.
Well, what an amazing situation to find yourself in. I mean, firstly, I grew up listening to Richie, Bill, Tony, and, Ian Chappell and all those guys, and used to hang on every word they said. And then I was lucky enough to play a bit of state cricket when they were actually commentating on you. But then to end up working with them was just a step up again. And you used to find yourself in the commentary box sometimes as you would in Plays Day and just sort of look around and pinch yourself and go, God, am I really here? But Richie was just a lovely gentleman, a very strange man in a lot of ways. Kept to himself.
Yeah, he did.
But just an amazing broadcaster. And they all had their quirks and their fun. I mean, Bill's just an amazing character. What you see is what you get. I don't think I've ever seen anyone to this day as enthusiastic as Bill was. I remember Bill on the Boxing Day test used to come and he'd be in the com box at 7 a.m. waiting for his first stint at 10:30, checking the sound. Morning, everyone. I could still hear him. Got lots of great Richie stories.
Any favourites?
Some crackers. Richie loved to drink. I know he won't mind me saying, God rest his soul, he's left us quite a few years ago, and that was sad, but I used to love it when we sometimes be sitting on the plane, be flying to Perth or something like that, and the hostie would come up to Richie and say, Mr. Benno, would you like a glass of red or white? And he'd shoot back straight away. Both. I used to love the look on their face. They used to. There was one night during the Brisbane test, we took Richie out for a steak and a glass of red, as he would say. A place called Cha Cha Cha, famous steakhouse. A Shiraz. Loved his Shiraz, Richie. It wasn't the Chateau de Flore. But we got Richie. We talked him into having a few oyster shooters, which was a bit out of his wheelhouse, the oyster shooter. I was surprised that he'd have an oyster shooter. Anyway, he had a few too many oyster shooters along with the reds. I don't think I ever saw Richie have a beer, funny enough. But anyway, Richie had a few. And you got to remember, at this stage, he's 80 years old. So, mate, we're nowhere near that. And a few oyster shooters would do me in as well. And we had to get him back to the hotel, which is probably about a kilometre walk. So he had the wobbly bird on, Richie. So there was myself and Steve Crawley, our head of sport at night, who's now our head of sport at Fox, a great man. We're acting like bumper bars as Richie was bouncing off each as we walked him back to the hotel. He just an amazing fella, Richie, and to have such an impact. If you look at people who've had an impact on Australian cricket over the last 30 or 40 years, not only as a player,
that's right,
but then for that iconic commentary team, I don't think there'll ever be anything like it again. And one of the hardest things was to replace those guys. And look, we've got a great commentary now team at Fox Cricket. It's best in the world, I think, and I think our coverage is best in the world. But to replace those guys was difficult. So
it's a different era too. But do you actually reckon that Billy Birmingham from the 12th May, do you reckon that he put him in a different stratosphere?
Absolutely. And the funny thing about while on Richie at first wasn't a massive fan of Billy Boom only because of the swearing.
Yeah.
He didn't like the swearing.
Did you ever hear Richie swear?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You want another Richie story?
Oh, mate, I'm ready.
Okay. You were playing in the 2000 the World Cup in South Africa. Okay. 2003.
Yep.
And basically, what were you playing a game every 7 or 8 days? So Channel 9 sent us over. There was myself, Mark Taylor, Ian Hurley, Richie, and Tony Greig.
A lot of downtime.
And I'm not sure what the hell I was doing there. I was supposed to be looking after them. It was like the blind leading the blind, let me tell you. So we're playing a lot of golf in between. And it was always Tubby and I would team up to take on Heels and Richie. At the time, Richie was a good golfer. Played off about 15. Funny thing about Richie, never wore a hat. And in South Africa, they've got caddies at all the courses and refused to caddy, didn't want to. Always carried his own bags and never wore a hat. And we couldn't beat him. He hit these little 150-metre scuds down the fairway, had a good short game, and off 15, now Tubby and I are wailing away all over the place. We couldn't beat him. Anyway, this one day, I'm standing over a putt, 2 putts I've got, and we're finally going to take them down. Tubby's a competitive bugger.
Yep.
Actually, Tubby, I'll tell you something about Tubby, has got the worst temper on the golf course. For a mild-mannered man, has got a shocking temper on the golf course. Tubby, this is a little insight, the great man. I'm standing over this putt. It's probably about 12 foot. I don't have to sink it. I've just got a 2-putt, okay, to get the cash finally after about 10 goes off Healy and Benno. Anyway, I'm standing over this putt. Richie never says a word out in the guy. You might hear the yell, "Good shot," or something like that. For 18 holes, he just doesn't say anything. A bit like his commentary. And I'm standing over his putt. I'm just about to pull the putter back. He says, "Buzzard." Shit, what's up? I thought something happened. He goes, "There's a bit of shit on the end of your putter." So I sort of pull my putter up to have a look at the bottom of it. He says, "No, not that fucking end."
No way.
Mate, we lost it for about 10 minutes. I had a 12-foot 2-putt, which I hit about 6 foot short, missed the next one, 3-putted. Tubby didn't talk me for a month.
It worked beautifully.
So,
gotcha.
Sledged by the great Richie Benno. But he didn't swear off him, no. He didn't like the swearing from Billy Birmingham.
Yeah. Well, I also had the pleasure to work when I was with Channel 9 and to work with those legends at Tony Gregan.
What was that like for you when you first came in? That must have been daunting.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was still playing Big Bash at that stage and had idolised these guys. And, I used to watch, all the stuff growing up as a kid and have the cricket on. We'd play a lot of backyard cricket myself, Shane, and my younger brother Grant, but we'd always have it on and, Tony Gregg, wow, and that's the start of the summer, and Richie Benno and Bill Laurie and all that. But to be in the same commentary box as these legends and to actually be on the stint calling the wonderful game of cricket, and I'd actually look around and think, it's almost like I'm on the Billy Birmingham tape. It was like I was part of the 12th man. That was such a, we said before, you sort of pinch yourself moment. And I had those moments. And there was one time where and for those that don't know, Buzzer sits behind us or sits next to us and he'll hand us different things and we have to get different reads in for sponsors. And there was one, it may have been Vodafone, and it was when the new Vodafone app came out. Yes. And you said, "Hey, Richie," in his ear, which no one else can hear other than Richie, "Mate, can you read this out for us?" And Richie didn't do a lot of reads towards the end. And it was like, the new Vodafone app is brought to you today and blah, blah, blah. And
when apps first came out.
And Richie goes, "The new Vodafone app." And I heard you go, "It's a fucking app, Rich. It's an app."
Richie, it's a fucking app. The APP. Martha, sing this new Vodafone APP.
He's like, "What's an app?" And you hear him say off air, "What's an app?" But yeah, as you'd imagine, the whole commentary box lost it. But we could talk for days on Richie Benno, but what a wonderful guy! What an amazing voice. Knew his stuff, and his way that he could reflect and recall very, very quickly moments that have happened in the last 30, 40 years and set the tone and actually tell a story on air. And it probably wasn't what he said, it's what he didn't say. I mean, he let the game breathe beautifully. Yeah,
he did. And, all four of those guys were iconic. And, unfortunately, we've lost Tony Gregg as well, who was a hell of a unique character in his own right. Tony and sadly missed, but Bill's still going strong. I spoke to him not long ago, and he's doing fairly well. And Chappelli, we all hear and see out at the cricket. So amazing days. As I said, I don't think there'll be ever as an iconic commentary team, not just in Australian sport, but in the world, and irreplaceable. Remember, trying to replace Richie Benno is like trying to replace Don Bradman.
No, you can't.
And we used to cop a lot of flack from certain flogs in the media who used to give us grief for. We get complaints about, these guys are too old, get rid of them, and then as soon as they left, it was, where are they all, sort of thing. So anyway, you guys are doing an amazing job now. So
loving it, mate.
Up to the next generation, and I will say now, the cricket broadcasting's never been better.
Oh, we love it,
especially on Fox Cricket.
Well, in that case, we've got a couple of hours before we're on air, Buzz. So another question quickly, and we better get back to work mode. But here's one from Matt, who's in Randwick. "I'm stuck in isolation at the moment. Smiley face. Need some recommendations for what to watch." Hello, Matt. And he's obviously got COVID.
Yes.
What have you been watching?
Well, mate, I go on to Foxtel, and everything's there, isn't it? You go on to Foxtel, you got Netflix, Stan, Disney. I tell you what, I had been I binge watch Yellowstone. That's amazing. I love watching that.
Binge.
Succession.
Well, that was my one, and I had it on my phone. Succession. But I haven't seen the start because I got home after Big Bash, and my wife was watching it, and TV was on. She'd fallen asleep, and I sort of got it. I think the second episode halfway through, and I was instantly hooked. So I've seen I think the second or third episode, so I have to go back now and watch it from the start. But I'm hooked on that one.
Yeah, some great series out there. What about what's the last movie you watched? You seen any movies lately?
The last movie I watched was last week. And
is it one you can mention?
Yeah, of course. It was actually, I needed a laugh. I was just, there's been a lot of things happening in the media, and every time you turn the bloody TV on, it's all about COVID and depressing news and all that type of stuff. So I thought, I want a good laugh, and I want to go back to a show I've seen, 15, 20 years ago, and will make me laugh. So the first thing was like Happy Gilmore. I've seen that a million times. Not going to watch that. Groundhog Day, Bill Murray. Very funny.
How good.
Very, very funny. And just to see what he goes through the same every day. He wakes up, he just can't get out of that bloody moment.
Can't go past Caddyshack. There's so many good things. The old movies, Dumb and Dumber, how good are they? I mean, actually, I'll tell you what I did watch. With my, I've got a 13-year-old son. I introduced him to Jackass the other day.
Has he tried any of the stunts?
No, he hasn't. But it's a sad indictment when my 13-year-old son's hero is now Johnny Knoxville. So I don't know if I've done the right thing there, but those guys are just crazy. I mean, he loved the Jackass movies.
Well, mate, if he tries a rapping glad rap, he's watched the third episode.
Yeah. What about Poo Cocktail? Did you ever see that? Oh mate.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Brett Lee Podcast. That's it for us. If you like what you're hearing, feel free to leave a review in the episode wherever you listen to your podcast. In the next episode, we're going to wrap up this fifth test, which starts in about 3 hours' time from now. If you want to get involved, the WhatsApp group. It's in the link to the episode notes. And, of course, the email, the Brett Lee Podcast at news.com.au. Buzz, quick prediction, England, can they get on the board?
I don't think they can. It's going to be an interesting test match, though. There's no such thing as a dead rubber in Ashes test. They all mean something. I think the conditions are really going to suit the bowlers down there. And what about our man Scott Boland? I mean, I wouldn't put it past him to end up man of the match again in these sort of conditions.
Well, mate, I'm on air in about 2 hours. I'm pumped. So jump on Fox, have a watch. The greatest thing that we can expect this afternoon, and we'll either see Mitchell Starc with that brand new pink ball, or Usman Khawaja and David Warner at the top of the innings. So, Buzz, our parting words as always.
Keep your chins up.
Keep your chins up. See you soon.